Hello and welcome to Earth Calling. We're your hosts, Ed and Lazlo. Every week we bring you a fresh slice of online content, sorting through the likes, the memes, the insta-Queens, the swipes, the scrolls, and the Twitter trolls. Together, we're laying down our 21st century digital legacy. So sit back, relax, and buckle in. This is Earth Calling.
Welcome back, Earth Callers, to your favourite new podcast. Ed and I are doing something a little different this week, which is quite exciting. It is our first ever live podcast session. Yes, indeed. Hosted on the platform, which is the subject of this week, which is Clubhouse, the incredibly fast-growing audio room app.
Absolutely. So, for those who are not familiar with Clubhouse, I mean, have you been living under a rock? It is blowing up right
come
now.
Come on, audio rooms, Jesus, raise your hand. Yeah.
Seriously though, Clubhouse is a relatively niche platform, which we've chosen because of its meteoric rise over the course of 2020 and the initial months of 2021. And before we go into our classic founder story, I thought I would just explain the app in a bit of detail because I'm aware that there will be several people listening who may not have heard of it. So Clubhouse is essentially a mixture of radio, conference call, throw in a bit of house party if you're familiar with that app, and you essentially have a social network that's based on audio chat. So the way it works is people will host a room, which is what Lazlo and I are about to attempt to do, and anybody who is on the app...
The key word being attempt right there. we are going to attempt to host a room with no prior knowledge of the exact mechanics of hosting a room.
Exactly. But we will host a room, and anybody who's on Clubhouse can join that room. So they can just drop in. And what that means is that they will then be able to hear the people who are, in inverted commas, on stage, and they will be the so-called audience. But anybody in the audience can raise a hand. And if they raise a hand, they can then be invited up onto stage, and they will then be sort of given the mic and will be unmuted and can contribute to the discussion. And it's really kind of gained a huge amount of traction over the past year. It is currently still invite only, so if you are on Clubhouse,
DM us if you want invites. But I mean, all jokes aside, I do have a limited number of invites, and you have to be close friends or family to get one.
I'd like to point out that we shared this on Instagram, and I said, "Do feel free to get in touch if you'd like an invite." Nobody got in touch, so I mean, guys, you don't know what you're missing.
Or they're all already on Clubhouse and will be flocking to the room later.
We will be seeing them shortly, perhaps. But in terms of how it was founded, so Clubhouse was actually launched less than a year ago in April 2020, and it gained popularity early on in the pandemic lockdown months and essentially secured a very large investment from a venture capital firm called Andreessen Horowitz, which makes it sound like two Bond villains got together to come up with a venture capital fund.
It sounds like their offices are based in Transylvania.
Yes, but I think it's Mark Andreessen, and is it Ben Horowitz maybe? But they're essentially kingmakers in the Valley, as it's known, and they decided to invest, I think, 12 million into this burgeoning app last year, and that's kind of propelled it to cult status in Silicon Valley, where everybody is kind of on Clubhouse and talking to each other, trying to get invites. And it reminds me of the early days of Facebook, when Facebook was initially, I'm not sure if you remember this, Lazlo, it was essentially you had to have a university, like obviously it starts at Harvard, you have to have a harvard.edu address, and Clubhouse is playing off the similar scarcity phenomenon whereby you make something desirable by making it exclusive. It's like getting into a really cool, club, I guess.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, it is funny, isn't it, how the very simple act of making it invite only just generates this enormous interest and a huge degree of FOMO in the kind of, especially those tech savvy people who want to be at the cutting edge of the latest kind of social network.
And it grew in popularity over the course of the year as more and more people started using it, and it really spiked in 2021 when they started expanding the number of invites they were giving away, and several very high-profile people decided to just drop into various chats. So Elon Musk decided to just hop on one evening and did an interview.
I mean, he's just always bloody dropping in places, isn't he?
He's dropping in a
Elon
lot.
Musk. Like, apparently he's the busiest person in the world, right? But he's sleeping on the factory floor of Tesla. But then he's joining audio rooms at,
he's tweeting about Dogecoin. He's founding incredible companies. He's got the Boring Company, which he founded to make tunnels, and he kind of liked the name because it sounded a bit ironic.
He had another child, which he named something like Sasha, spelled XA4EY or something.
How is that pronounced? I mean, it sounds like a password, doesn't it? A really good password.
Maybe it's the password to one of his crypto wallets. You never know.
His Dogecoin wallet. But he's been on. And Kanye's been on. Yeezy, he's dropped in.
Yeezy.
So Lazlo and I thought that we would join all of these great luminaries and found our own room. But so I hope that gives everybody at least a brief understanding of the platform and the premise. And we're extremely excited to drop into the house. Is that what it is? Drop into the club?
Yeah, just occupy that stage.
Occupy it, just own it.
Yeah.
And it will be live. But Lazlo, what are your expectations? Are you feeling nervous?
Well, I'm not too nervous. I think the reason I'm not too nervous is because my expectations, based on a lot of the engagement we've had so far through our social media channels, for example, nobody requesting a bloody invite to the platform itself, I'm expecting there to be a total of 4 people. Me, you, and then maybe one of my close friends and just a kind of random passerby. I think we'll have a very sophisticated conversation. I think it'll be very, polite.
Civil,
exactly.
The discourse will be civil.
Affair. Yeah. There'll be no cancelling.
I don't know. I think it's a bit of an unknown because I'm not sure how Clubhouse works. Maybe lots of randomers will just stumble into the room. I mean, the title is quite compelling. Earth Calling Live. Maybe someone's going to look at that and go, ooh.
Wow, yeah.
But I don't know. I'm definitely feeling sort of slight butterflies. Knees weak, arms are heavy. Vomit on my sweater already. Mum's spaghetti.
Yes. I'm
nervous,
glad. That's
but on the
probably
surface
the
he
only.
was calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting. Yeah, I haven't written anything down actually.
Save it for the audio room, Ed.
Save it for. Don't waste all the good jokes in advance.
So should I kick us off? Should I create this room? Okay. Should I start this one then? Earth Calling Live. Club Can't Handle Me.
Absolutely. I was trying to think of as many club puns as I could, and I thought Club Can't Handle Me was a good one. Inda Club.
It's very good.
50 Cent.
It's very, very good.
But let's go for it. So we're going live in
1 minute. I'm going to tap the button.
Okay, let's do it.
Starting the room. We are officially live.
I've been asked to go to the room. Here we go. I'm entering.
There we go.
I'm on the stage. There we go. How exciting.
Yeah, your audio is coming through loud and clear, which is excellent.
Good. I'm hoping that everybody will be able to get the silky smooth audio. There's nobody with us.
Should I just leave quietly? Leave you to it? That's a button that we have available to us, by the way. Leave quietly.
Oh, somebody's just joined. Here we go.
Yes, we have our first participant.
Well, hang on.
Just to explain what we're seeing, by the way, we've just seen a little kind of profile picture pop up in a section below the stage. This person is called Toby. I hope they don't mind that we've just outed them. And yeah, they at the moment they can't unfortunately speak because we haven't invited them to the stage. Yeah, the organic reach isn't quite what I expected. It seems to be quite inorganic.
Yeah, it's a Sunday afternoon. People are busy.
Absolutely, Sunday afternoon in a pandemic when it's on my side of the world, it's a pretty grisly day. So you're definitely.
He hasn't raised. Oh, okay, he's on. But now we have our only listener who has joined us on stage. And why don't you perhaps sort of introduce yourself, or what's been your experience of Clubhouse to date? Are you a Clubhouse veteran or a bit of a newbie?
I don't want to disclose too much personal information because I've got a strong personal brand to protect. But I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller on Earth Calling, and on Clubhouse probably a kind of 5th or 6th time listener.
So you're a true super fan. But I think, you know, the aim that we sort of laid out a bit of a structure as to what we wanted to discuss. I think.
Yeah, I just want to say that a lot of pre-prepared for this show did sort of necessitate a minimum of at least 4 audience members. Not asking a great deal, but given that we only have one, I think it's going to be a more kind of interview setting.
Takes.
You listener,
Yes.
growing your listener base 100% minute over minute.
Exactly. So it's all about this exponential growth, and that's what we're all about. So I think my experience of it has been pretty random. Like there seems to be a lot of noise, a lot of random chat going on. But I think it has the potential to be a super interesting platform. Like if you think about what it's trying to do, it's essentially trying to disintermediate mainstream media from conversations. And so, I was thinking about it the other day, and if you want to go direct to the public, let's say you're Elon, wonderful Elon Musk, and you want to speak directly without having some journalist put their own spin on what you have to say, you can just join a room on Clubhouse and be guaranteed that thousands of people will quite literally drop in because, well, you're Elon Musk, and I wish we had the same pulling power, but you can be guaranteed that people will join, and so that removes the necessity to have the Financial Times reporter who interviews you and then puts their spin on things and gives you a direct channel of communication, which I think is really powerful. I don't know whether you guys share that view or whether you think it's going to be successful as a result of that or for any other reasons.
Absolutely, and I actually think with that in mind, given the fact that we are now basically 3 on stage and only 1 person in the audience, I thought we could also invite the person in our audience to...
Sure, we can invite our final audience member up and see if he's been on Clubhouse at all or has anything you'd like to share about the platform. I think you can you raise your hand or no, how does it work? You just get invited.
Invited, James.
Yeah. Toby's, of course, shared his views, yeah.
Yeah. I think James might have gone AFK. That's away from keyboard, isn't it?
He's in listen-only mode. That's absolutely fine. He's dialed in as an Earth caller to listen to some top-quality chat on a Sunday afternoon and what top-quality chat he's getting. But I think, it does have the potential to be a really, really interesting platform. But I think that what they're going to have to do is get a lot better at moderating and surfacing good content, because if you just browse through the homepage, there's not actually that much that I thought looked super interesting. And so I think, they'll get to a point where the content curation is much more like Facebook, potentially, where it kind of suggests things really, really relevant to you that will be a lot better.
Well, I'm actually quite apprehensive or just quite scared about the moment Clubhouse starts to push ads at you and what that looks like in this context, in a kind of audio room context.
But I think it kind of, it's almost like a verbal Twitter, or like if there's a room of people tweeting, but verbally or orally, like that's kind of how I would pitch it. But there's also a question, of course, about post-COVID, like does anybody actually want to listen in to this kind of thing, like, or is it just the case that everybody's at home with their AirPods in, sitting around doing not a great deal, and therefore
there's definitely an element of that.
I mean, Clubhouse has been the fastest, I think one of the fastest, excluding healthcare one of the fastest tech companies to reach $1 billion valuation, which is basically insane given that it was founded less than a year ago and has already reached that valuation despite not having generated $1 in revenue, which is kind of nuts.
Toby, do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm just buying a smoothie in the supermarket, so probably not.
Hang on a second. Let me cut you off there, Toby. From the people up on stage, we really expect them to be quite committed,
engaged.
We don't need them to be buying smoothies. There's a lot at stake. But please continue.
There's been another kind of on-podcast joke about acai smoothies. I'm literally about to buy one, so I'm just catering to every group. But I'll be fully attentive and not wearing a mask in about 5 minutes.
So he's buying an acai avocado blend, probably.
Update: our panelist, our only non-Earth calling panelist, is currently buying a smoothie in Sainsbury's or wherever he is.
Probably not in Sainsbury's. I hope it's in something far more kind of organic and independent.
UK in a while.
So just to refresh where we are to our non-live listeners, just to recap, to refresh the room, as I believe is good etiquette on Clubhouse. Let's just take a minute and pause and refresh the room. we should give a sense of where we are. So Lazlo and I have set up this very exciting live room. We're 15 minutes in. We've got 3 listeners in the house, as it's known, in Da Club. And we are going to proceed with our episode as normal, but live for the benefit of our expansive audience this lovely Sunday afternoon. And to anyone in the audience, if you do fancy joining us on stage at any point, do feel free to raise your hand and you'll be invited up and given the mic. But Lazlo, so as usual, we have a segment, an ever-growing, ever-popular segment on this podcast.
I'd call it the #1 rated segment on this podcast. It's been in that position for 6 weeks now, and it's really not going to be dislodged until the next segment, i.e. the second segment, appears, which is, of course, Lazlo's Listicles, where I kind of quiz Ed on some fun lists I find on the internet related to the social media platform that we are talking about.
We should probably do a jingle, by the way, for Lazlo's Listicles. I can imagine perhaps somebody could send in, a fan could send in maybe a submission that's like, Lazlo's Listicles, boing, boing. And then we can do that for the intro every time.
That sounds a bit like the Harry Potter song. You know, the Cerberus
Dumbledore. Yeah. Less about Snape, mate, because, we know that's a sore subject, touchy subject.
Yes. Ed did admit that I do a better Alan Rickman than him. It's just to fill you in. But basically, this week, I have a slightly different idea. You know, the Lazlo's Listicle format is ever-changing. It's very flexible. So
it's fluid.
It's fluid. It's very, very fluid. And this week, it's actually going to be in the form of a quiz. Now, a quisticle. What we did plan for this in a scenario where we had let's say at least a respectable number of people in the audience, 3 plus, this to be a contest between Ed and a listener. But we do have a couple of listeners in the booth, let's say the audience booth. So if one of them would like to raise their hand and partake in this quiz, please do now.
I can also join if the background noise is not too loud.
Absolutely.
Half my brain as I search for.
Okay.
So now I'm onto cottage cheese by now. If that's a good update for listeners.
Is that gonna feature in your smoothie or just separate?
Separate purchase, I promise.
Because I can imagine cottage cheese really thickening it out quite nicely.
I'm a big fan of kefir, which is, of course, very in at the moment. A kefir kombucha hybrid smoothie might be a lovely way to top up your hydration on a Sunday afternoon.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through this quiz. There's 8 questions, and they're all related to social media. So they're kind of trivia questions about what is social media. And I think what I'll do is I'll basically alternate questioning our 2 panelists, one of whom is Ed, of course.
But I do notice that we've had a fellow audience member who's taken up the mic, who's decided to hop in. So should we fling a question over? Oh, quite a lot of background noise there. Hello, welcome to the stage. No, welcome.
On the tube, my apologies.
Oh my God, everybody's just multitasking. No, but in my head, everybody would be sort of lying in the bath at home, with this sort of piped into a beautiful speaker. In actual fact, we've got, people drinking kefir smoothies and trying to get about their day on a Sunday at the tube. So you streaming that ultra fast, juicy Virgin Media Wi-Fi?
I mean, I've been on for about 15 minutes, but on a slightly inferior tube line with Wi-Fi only at stations. Not to worry, I'm now upgraded to the Jubilee line. So
You're tuning in from public transport.
From below ground, it sounds like. Yeah, amazing. So you're not. Yeah, apologies to our listeners who won't be getting that sort of crisp, high fidelity welcome to Earth Calling. We're your hosts, Ed and Lazlo, that you look forward to every Wednesday. But, these are the perils, as we've said, of the live Clubhouse drop-in, drop-out.
Right, Toby, you ready?
I'm ready.
I want you to tell me who the individual is with the highest number of YouTube subscribers.
Okay, there's a guy you referenced last week on the previous episode. I'm really flexing my knowledge of the podcast here. I think he's called something like PewDiePie or PewDiePie. I don't know who he is, but maybe it's him.
Right, James, under a bit of pressure, you're 1-0 down, and the next question is the following. It's actually kind of a toughie, but I want you to list these 3 social media celebrities in order of most followers on Instagram to fewest followers. And the 3 celebrities are Kim Kardashian, Kendall, and Kylie Jenner.
Amazing.
Kylie.
Yeah.
So I think Kylie followed by Kendall, followed by Kim.
Okay, so you got the top one right. You already pushed out that Kylie Jenner, the cosmetics billionaire, is the top follower. She's got 220 million. But then, unfortunately, second is actually Kim with 210 million. And then third is Kendall, who's actually quite a way behind her sister with 155 million. I'll give you a third of a point. Only one to a third. Okay, so this quiz is very much still in the balance. We go back to Toby. He's currently nurturing a nice 1 to a third lead. Toby, your question is: in what year was the social media app Bebo founded?
Well, I had a page, and it was pre-Facebook. Facebook we started getting on it in around 2007 or 8. So Bebo several years before that. So I'm going to say 2004.
Ooh, that is close. It's 2005. Unfortunately, I can't give you the point, but good logic. I liked your thought process. If this was an interview for a management consultancy firm, you'd probably get the job. But Lazlo's listicles is a brutal sport.
Yeah, tell me about it. God, I've been at the sharp end of these listicles for many a week, and they can be bloody tough. So no, good effort, mate. Well tried.
Anyway, look, we do have an important thing to get back to, which is we're mid-battle here in the listicles game. James is currently he's down a third to 1, and the next question is the following, and I'm going to give you a point. I'm going to give you a point if you guess this to the nearest 200 million. This is quite a hard question. James, how many monthly active users does Facebook have? So if you get within 200 million, I'll give you the point.
It's probably something inconceivably high given how many people actually have internet. Probably something like 2.5 billion.
Final answer?
Yeah, final answer.
Do-do-doom.
James, you have won the million. I don't know how it does exactly, but you got the answer right. My Chris Tarrant falls quite short, but well done. It's 2.7 billion, and you got within 200 million.
Wow, that's impressive. Nice.
Right then, Toby. Now, this is actually, I think, the penultimate question, and this question is as follows: what is the current most viewed YouTube video in the world? Should I give you 3 options for this one?
That would be ideal.
Okay. So, number 1, is it the music video for Despacito, the viral sensation?
Despacito.
Is it the music video for WAP, or I don't know what it stands for, what I do actually, but I'm not going to say it on this room.
Wet Ass Podcast.
Wet Ass Podcast by Cardi B, or is it the music video for the popular children's nursery rhyme Baby Shark? Baby Shark.
Oh, it's such a good choice. I've actually seen all 3, which I feel is quite. I saw the. I think I've seen the
one after the other, was it?
When you say you think you've seen the WAP video, Toby, let's be honest. I mean, if you've seen it or not, mate. Have you seen it?
It's from memory pretty NSFW.
You can say that. You can say that again.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Baby Shark, but I've got no idea.
It's Baby Shark.
Wow.
Baby Shark has got 8.1 billion views.
That is terrifying.
The second behind it is, in fact, the very same Despacito.
Wow.
So Toby has now moved on to 2 points. So this is the clincher now. If James can answer this correctly, then he will take the crown. The question is, how many people is Ed following on Instagram? I want you to tell me if he follows 76 people, 235 people, or 396 people, and no cheating.
Can I have a clue as to how many people he following him? Was that the data from before?
What do we reckon? Just to give that information out.
Yeah, throw him a bone.
Okay, you get the bone thrown. The number that he is followed by is 367.
Okay, so he's a relatively active user.
I
reckon it's the 300 number. 300 and whatever you said.
396.
Oh yeah, that's quite high though, isn't it? That's a lot of people.
Well, this is how many people. To be clear though, this is how many people I'm following, right? So.
Well, he's a podcast host who likes to curate content from multiple sources. So I think he would want to spread his net wide there.
Yeah.
So around 400 people sounds reasonable to me.
Okay. Well, I can reveal that you have just won the title of live listicle champion, because indeed Ed follows 396 people. So well done, James. Huge performance. Round of applause from everyone on the panel here.
That's great. I'm doing the hand wave that I do on Zoom when I'm on a team Zoom. Hand wave. Congratulations. And we can give you a sort of a virtual. Well, let's just say that the Bitcoin's in the post, mate.
So we do indeed have someone else in the room. Should we, seeing as there's not too many people queuing up to speak on stage, should we invite them up?
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't want to put pressure on people, but very, very welcome to.
Yeah.
It's real.
So new panelists, please introduce yourself for our listeners.
Hello. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the honour of choosing me amongst the myriad you could have gone for from the audience. I am James, also James 2. I guess I'm no longer James in the audience, so I don't know what the right way of differentiating my
Just James 2 is good.
James 2.
J2, J2O.
Very happy to be here.
Fantastic. And where are you calling from?
I'm calling from within my mosquito net in Juba, South Sudan.
Wow. So one could say Earth Calling has cracked the African market.
I think James 2 thinks that's a reach.
And what we wanted to move on to next was a game which I thought up related to kind of some of the things that Ed and I accidentally end up doing on a lot of our episodes, which is impersonating people and doing accents, which is probably quite infuriating for everyone who listens to our podcast. But
here we bloody go.
No, so basically, I think Ed and I will be the participants. Let's just say that, and one of you two can in turn, I guess, or one of you three, in turn, can propose a nationality. So, James, why don't you start with you, James 2?
I would like to propose the nationality of Welsh.
Right. Okay.
Lazlo, you want to kick us off, or?
Well, I might want to kick us off, of course, because it's been a while since I did my Welsh accent, but I do feel it's vaguely acceptable. That was not great.
That's not too bad. Not too bad. It needs to be a little bit more topsy turvy, up and down, a bit more like that. You're in the valleys, Lazlo. You need to be going up and down the hills. Lovely. Or you've got kind of Anthony Hopkins, who's a bit just a little bit of Welsh, but man, the Welsh trade. But I think Welsh is one that I thought that was all right from you, Lazlo. I think.
How did we perform, James?
Well, I mean, I was transported to the rolling green hills of Wales. I thought that Ed's performance was a bit more like, I felt slightly more like it was a real person talking rather than a kind of Welsh muppet.
You watch your bloody words, James. I'll have you an audience member in a political figures. Okay, should we have another one? What do we think? Yeah, Toby, how about you propose a nationality?
I'm going to go for Northern Irish, but if it gets too close to any impersonation from the film of speeches from the film Taken, then I'll disqualify.
I love it. That's great. Just some context for the Earth Caller.
Again, this guy knows his Earth Calling.
Yeah. He's got his fortes, and Toby has been very clear to restrict Ed and his fortes.
The difference between Northern Irish and Irish is I sort of get them mixed up. So one of them is far more kind of like that. Is that kind of is that a Londonderry? Is that Southern Irish or is that Northern? And then you add much more. I've just essentially just changed the tone of my voice. I don't know why I haven't really changed the accent. I've just changed the pitch, but. I sort of if you let her go now, that'll be the end of it. Now, is that? There's also that bad guy in Peaky Blinders. Where's he from? Is he Northern Irish? No. You obviously haven't watched it, mate. The baddie in the first season. Yeah. Okay. So I'm afraid I really flop in terms of my understanding of North versus Ireland itself. But I'll let you go for it and show me the ropes.
Well, the thing about Northern Ireland is you got a cow on the farm, and every weekend you got to go out and feed that cow. Okay, look.
Well, hang on. I also love it how you took on James's feedback and decided to try and create a bit of a persona there and give us a bit of a backstory to Patrick.
I'm reeling from his feedback. I'm hurt, and I'm trying to do the best I can to address his comments.
Reeling and hurling, two Irish activities. Milking the cow. There's some great videos on YouTube, though, of people doing Irish accents. Well, not doing Irish accents, people who are Irish speaking. and it's really very difficult to understand. There's a great one of an Irish shepherd who's explaining that his flock has gone missing. And he says, well, you
both missed it. You both used the best word, cow, but you both went for kind of southern twist on it. You'd be looking for a kind of coy kind of sound. Why do you milk a coy?
As in,
it would take you much further north.
As in coy carp.
Not a coy. I mean, they would probably say coy carp as in a very. You'd confuse a coy carp and a cow carp if that is a breed of carp. Were you to ask a sort of an Ulsterman to listen?
They say no, right about now.
No, yeah. Right, but no points awarded. You're both pathetic on Northern Irish.
Okay, what about another accent? James, OG James. Is there any nationality you'd like to hear?
Yeah, I think we've had quite a few American accents on the show. I'd quite like to hear a San Diego accent, please.
Oh my God! Like, I'm so glad you asked, because it's like this acai thing is like really kicking off here, and like when I go to the beach and I take my board with me, I need to have like my smoothie in one hand and like my mobile in the other. So I'm texting and smoothieing, and then I got my fucking cottage cheese and kombucha. I don't know what that turned into.
That to me was quite sort of LA, which of course is only a couple of 100 miles from San Diego. But let's get into the specifics. I think James wanted a San Diego, and I think.
Very much the difference I'm looking for, Ed. Very much.
Yeah, the nuance.
Mention of mobile there was interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot wrong. I'm really struggling to tie in my narratives with my accents and take on board all the feedback that's coming from, frankly, quite, critical.
I thought it was a safe space up here. Clearly not. Yeah.
Exactly.
So the interesting thing about San Diego is that it is obviously south of LA and therefore that bit closer to Mexico. But I don't think that manifests itself in the accent. But I think that it is a wider kind of moral lilting, kind of back of the throat, a bit more like that. It's not the kind of, oh my God, kind of twangy, that kind of LA girl, Valley girl. I've made it sound rather like a computer, but I think it's more laid back. It's a little bit more, as I say, from the back of the throat, and has the San Diego lifestyle is pretty chill. The weather there is exceptional all year round. And people spend a lot of time in the great outdoors. It's not too far, as I said, from Mexico. So the cuisine has a very interesting mixture between some of the great avocado-based dishes of Southern California, or as I call it, SoCal, and some of the Mexican cuisine that you would, of course, find just across the border. I don't actually know, to be honest. If that's what people from San Diego sound like, I'm sure we'll be corrected.
Yeah, James, what's your expertise on the matter?
I think maybe if you went halfway in between the two, I'd say Ed maybe has moved a little bit east there of San Diego, perhaps.
He's always heading east, Ed. With those Americans, he's always pining for the deep south, basically, Ed.
Well, I'm always pining for my southern accent to kind of swell its way back into the room. But no, I mean the East Coast is my bread and butter. That's your Bostons, that's your New Yorks, your Bostons. I tell you where it's very difficult is the Minnesota and all of that kind of North Dakota. A bit more Canadian kind of, that kind of thing. Well, that's what they speak like, mate.
Welshman who got lost on a trip down. Fantastic. Thank you very much for those suggestions. Ed, what do you reckon? What's our next movement?
I think that's a wrap in that case, unless there's any other questions. But thanks so much, guys, for tuning in.
Exceptional accents, guys.
Appreciate it.
I just wanted to make sure that you guys didn't feel too downtrodden after some of the criticisms towards today's accents. They were, one of my favourite parts of the show.
Oh, excellent. Well, there we go.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I will return with higher quality. I promise that.
That's already better. So, we are now offline. We have left the room. We've dropped out of the club. I must say it was a very exclusive club, despite us being really rather open net in our approach. Lazlo, how did you find the experience?
Well, yeah, like you said, we didn't know what to expect. I think it did sort of match the expectations that I voiced before dropping into the room, which is that we would have a couple of core listeners join. I think it was quite amusing, though. I think it still is a really great way to just, have a few people in this stage setting and pitching in when they want to, involving them in a discussion when necessary. Everyone can just mute themselves whenever they want, so they're not compelled to speak. I thought it was pretty interesting. I obviously I got sledged for my accents. That will take a few days to get over. But like I say, I'm really looking forward to just going back to the drawing board and practicing them in my bedroom to myself in front of the mirror.
I would agree. I think that it was extremely interesting to just see how it all functioned, and I really do think that there is a space for this kind of platform in the future, and the people who joined did actually seem to enjoy the experience of tuning in and contributing. So it was great. I mean, our highfalutin hopes of having an audience of, 10 to 100 people was perhaps slightly misguided, in that I think the maximum that we hit was about 7. There were a few people who dropped in and then dropped out absolutely instantly.
My favorite was I noticed at one point someone joined the room who was just called Sailor.
Yes.
And they had a kind of anime profile picture.
Yes, that was a bit sketchy. I would also note something that I found very amusing was that I wouldn't be surprised if some of our listeners think that all of the characters on that show were actually me and you, because it was just ridiculous. It was James, who was then joined by James, and we had someone called Toby, and everybody sounded pretty similar and was spouting quite self-indulgent stuff. So it was.
I do want to say that. I do want to say, exactly that. Look, at Earth Calling, we aim to be as representative as possible, but it's difficult when, certain things we can't control happen, which is, for example, only males, for example, joining the panel. We would love to have a female panelist, so next time we do a Clubhouse live session, please do actually join us. It was a really fun experience, regardless of how many people turned up, and it's a really great way to just chat and interview people.
But I think, unfortunately, that is all we have time for on this very special live/not live episode of Earth Calling. We do hope you've enjoyed it, and as ever, please do give us a like and a review on Apple Podcasts, give us a download on Spotify to keep up to date with all of the latest content, and give us a follow on Instagram at Earth_calling_pod.
Indeed, and please do join us next week as our content wagon trundles on through the nebulous world of online content to a new platform. So please do pop on your headphones, organise your playlists, and hop into bed with Ed Sheeran and us, although maybe don't picture that part, as we look at the mammoth streaming service Spotify. But for now, Earth out.